Hi everybody and welcome to Bad Boy Breakthrough Coaching. I'm Lorna and I'm here with the gorgeous Matt Arson from The Attractive Man. Tell us more about yourself, Matt.
Oh, you're so sweet. So, thank you for having me on your show, Lorna. I appreciate it. So, I've been actually teaching men dating skills, if you want to call it that, relationship skills, how to be more confident, how to overcome shyness, how to be more grounded, centered, calm. We're about 5 years now, and it's been quite an experience. It's been really, really awesome. We have coached women, but our specialty is in coaching men. So I understand you want to get the male perspective, which is awesome, and I'm happy to share it, at least my take on how men think and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because we women think men always have it all together and they're just, they just cheat and lie and blah blah blah. So it's great that men how to interact with women. So I'm going to give you my most burning question first. Men can spot the weakness in women. Tell me more about that.
Men can spot the weakness in women. Okay. So I think, contrary to popular belief, most men want something more than just looks, at least for a longer term relationship. So, we screen women to see if they have anything more than that. You know, I personally have dated women who didn't really have a lot going on except for their looks, and then they usually latch on to me or the guy, um, and basically smother him, and that's not good. Most guys definitely don't like that, and it'll cause a guy to run for the hills. So we look for yeah, we're definitely attracted to looks initially. That is something that usually gets our foot in the door to want to come talk to you, and then we want to see if there's more to the woman than just that. So I think that's what that person was talking about when they asked that question, or how the question was, how can you spot the weakness, or just talk more about that. So
Okay, so if it's men are very visual, okay? So what else would be attractive to a guy?
a brain, wit, banter, somebody who they can have fun with. I mean, I think really men and women are kind of looking for the same qualities a lot of time. I mean, a lot of women will say they want a fun guy, a confident guy, a guy who has most of their shit together at least. And I think most men want the same thing. I always ask my clients, what are you looking for in a woman that is non-physical? What are those non-physical attributes? And they're usually the same, connection, somebody they can have a deep conversation with, somebody they can have fun with, somebody who, a confident woman is really, really attractive as well. It's not just women looking for confident men, it's actually men looking for confident women, I would say, just as much. It's, very, very important. And I think, that's that weakness that, if the woman's not confident, if she doesn't believe in herself, then that's a turn off. And we can see it in just her body language. The last girl that I dated, kind of sort of long term, was, had just such a confident posture. I loved it. It was so sexy. Like, just the way she walked with her shoulders back. As a guy, I'm always wanting to lead, but I would always, I would love her to walk in front of me and lead just so I could, check her out, her confident walk. It's really, really sexy. And a lot of women walk slouched over, and it's really unattractive when a woman is slouching.
Seeing who they are, and yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what all that beeping is, but anyway. Another great question that women always, always, always ask is, how long should a woman wait to have sex with a man?
Yeah, I get that question all the time too, and I've been to a lot of relationship seminars, and they always say, don't have sex on the first date, whether they're talking to the men or the women in the room. And I agree with that, definitely. I mean, I feel, that's definitely very soon to sleep with somebody on a first date. However, I am really me. This is just me personally. I really like passion. I really like, that just crazy sexual adventure where you sleep with the person within a few hours of meeting them, and then all my relationships have stemmed out of that. So I really, I've done both personally. Waited longer, and I've also not waited longer. And I feel that it's really up to the individual what they feel and what's right for them. I don't think I think it's just individual. I really do. I think what's really important is to not have a lot of weird hang-ups about sex, and not to have sex with somebody just because society says you shouldn't have sex, or because your family says, raised you not to have sex, before marriage or something like that. Like, it needs to be an individual thing. If you really feel some of the intimacy by sleeping with the person on the first or second date, then don't do it. It can definitely create a lot of anticipation if you wait. It can make the guy definitely want you a little bit more, but at the same time, there's definitely times where it just feels right. Everything is just, I don't know, there's just so much desire and so much passion that it kind of just happens quicker than than you plan on it.
Us women are always concerned that you'll devalue us if we sleep with you early. What's your view around that?
So I think it all depends on the guy, his view. So I feel personally that I have a pretty healthy view on sex, and I definitely don't devalue women if they don't have sex quickly, or on the first or second or third date or whatever. In fact, I'm kind of the opposite. I lose interest if the girl doesn't want to have sex. I mean, that might sound really bad, but that's just kind of me personally. I'm a very sexual guy, so that's kind of definitely important. And I don't look at it as something like I'm trying to get from the woman. I look at it as something that I'm going to give her just as much as she's going to give me. And it's it's all about the right timing and just kind of being in the moment. Sometimes that's going to be on the first date. Sometimes that's going to be second or third date. But I think if the man has a healthy view of sex and he doesn't look down upon women that are sexually confident and independent and go for what they want and don't have hang-ups about sex, then I think it'd be fine to sleep with a guy at really any point, and it can still turn into a great relationship. But unfortunately, a lot of guys have hang-ups about sex just like women do, or they look down upon women that are independent and sexually confident, and it's sad. But
Yeah.
I think the woman should just kind of talk about. I always talk about sex on the first date. Just bring it up. What's your view on sex? I mean, I don't necessarily say it like that, but we start talking about sex, and if it seems like we both have healthy views on sex, then sometimes it happens on the first or second date. But if I would say if the woman sees the guy and sees that he could have some hang-ups about it, and it seems like he's not expressing that he doesn't judge women, just the fact that he doesn't express that, then there's a chance that he could judge a woman for being sexual quickly. And maybe that's not the right guy then. I mean, I wouldn't want to date somebody that judges other people based on doing what they want when it comes to sex.
That's what I work with a lot of women, because it's all about your own confidence and reading the guy. Because when you're a confident, quality girl, you tend to attract a confident, quality guy, and it tends to just work out. And all these little questions about, when should I have sex, and blah, 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 and ask for commitment, it's not really such a big deal anymore, right?
Yeah, I heard one girl say this. She said she'll sleep with the guy very quickly, like on the first date, if she doesn't see him as relationship material, like he's just hot, he's, you know, a good-looking guy and confident and whatever, there's chemistry, but not like relationship chemistry. And then she'll wait maybe second or third or whatever, wait a little bit longer if she could see him as possible relationship material. So you can do that too if you want.
I believe that to be very true because when you really want something, you'll take care of the process of letting it happen, rather than just going, whatever, I'll just go along with it, you know. Yeah, that makes sense. What about girls chasing guys? Tell us a little more about that.
So what do you mean exactly? Like, you're talking about like girls chasing guys like too much and being like needy, or?
Yes. Like I'm talking about girls can subtly do it without really realizing they're actually doing it. So how can you tell girls how to navigate around that and not be so? Because it definitely tends to work better when the guy makes the effort.
Yeah, and in a way, it's kind of like a mutual seduction, as they're both, you know, the man. That's the best when the man is pursuing the woman, but the woman is also moving things along as well, just not so outright. It's more subtle. Like the woman shouldn't necessarily call up the man and be like, "Hey, let's hang out, let's go on a date." At least not right away. Maybe later, once they start dating, that's fine. But I think it's important for the woman to let the man be the man and initiate the first text and initiate the first call or the date and maybe the second date and initiate sex. I think that's really important. The woman definitely shouldn't initiate sex, right? So unfortunately, a lot of guys need a little bit of a push, so it's okay for the woman to text the guy first once in a while and, you know, make some effort, things like that, as long as she's not taking like the masculine role and, you know, being the leader. Allow the man to be the leader, and if he's not, then he's probably not the right guy, unless that woman is looking for a more feminine man and she just happens to be more of a masculine man. That is definitely possible nowadays. I'd say it's about 10% of relationships, maybe less. But most relationships, you know, heterosexual relationships, are usually a more feminine woman with a more masculine man.
Yes.
Therefore, the man should be leading and taking charge and saying, "Let's do this. Let's go here." That's what most women want. So the woman needs to allow the guy to do that too.
So how does a woman step into her more feminine energy? Because we were talking about it the other day in a group, and a lady was talking about how she saw it as weak. So can you explain the sexiness of being feminine rather than seeing it as weakness?
Right. I see feminine energy as like flowing and chaotic at times and very kind of emotional. Like dancing is very feminine. Fun, silly. So I think just, you know, being really comfortable in your own skin is really, really important. I mean, there's a lot of other things, of course, too, like, you know, the way you dress, you know, dressing feminine versus dressing like a tomboy. But just allowing yourself to be who you are, being silly at times if that's who you are, being, you know, quirky and those kind of things. It's okay to take the lead at times too, and, you know, maybe you're at the bar with the guy and you're like, "Hey, let's go play pool." That's okay. You can, you know, the woman can definitely do that, and a man will appreciate that. But if the woman's doing that every time and saying, "Let's go here, let's do this, let's go there," and the man is just following her around everywhere, then that's when usually attraction starts to become polarized, and they both lose attraction for each other a lot of times.
So when you're picking up women, okay, how can a woman be more approachable and open? Because a lot of women can be a little bit hard to get to know, correct?
Sure. So yeah, a lot of guys, you know, if they go up and approach a woman and she's just like kind of like shocked or gives off what I call the "what the fuck" face,
Nice.
which is like it's either a shocked face like that, or it's kind of like a nasty face like this, you know. then that can definitely detract the man from what he was going to do or say. So really just being open and giving the guy a little bit of a chance too, because he might come off not super confident right away because he could be super nervous. But remember, just the fact that he approached you means he is, he does have a level of courage. Because the definition of courage is being scared or being afraid but doing it anyway. So he might come off as nervous, and that might be a little bit of a turnoff, but give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt for at least a few minutes and see what happens. If it's going nowhere and it's totally awkward and weird, then of course you can end it, but give him a fair shot. And even if he's not your ideal guy, even if he's not the right height, I mean, when I've been in these relationship conferences, a lot of times the women, when they write down the list of qualities they're looking for in a guy, it's like 47 different things. So maybe he's not the right height, or he's not the right eye color, or he's not wearing a suit. Give him a little bit of a chance. You never know. Give him a few seconds and see if there's some attraction there. Don't just judge it and make a decision based on the initial reaction that you get from him.
So do you think women have put up too much barriers and made it tricky for themselves by complicating it?
I think sure. I think some of them have, for sure. I think one way, I feel like it's difficult sometimes for a woman to meet a guy because a woman doesn't have as many options. Like, women can do this, but it's just kind of weird. Should be taking the masculine role if she walks up to a guy and says, "Hi, you're really attractive. What's your name?" That would be, that's okay to do, of course, but again, that's taking the masculine role. I saw a guy I know, he started teaching women, and he used to always teach men, and he's teaching women exactly what he taught men, and it's really weird. I was watching videos of it, and women were running around the beach, going up to guys and saying stuff like, "You're the cutest guy I've seen in the last 5 seconds," and using like pickup lines, and it was so weird. And I don't think that's the best way to go about it, because then the man doesn't feel like a man. He feels like he's the woman in the situation. So I think you can be more open, and you can still approach guys, but you got to do it in a very indirect way, like make eye contact with him if you see him. If you see a guy you're attracted to or possibly interested in, or even go say something to him if you see a guy, and be open in all sorts of situations, like the bookstore and the grocery store and on the street. Try to make eye contact, or ask him for directions. Even if you know where Starbucks is, ask him where's Starbucks, or tell him, if he has something interesting about him, make a comment and just, "Hey, I really like your glasses." And if he takes it further, then great, but it kind of like opens up. He'll still feel like he's picking you up and he's approaching you. Like he'll still feel like he's making the moves.
So you can always give it like
Does that make sense?
And then leave the rest up to him.
Yeah, and don't feel bad if he doesn't take it further. He could be married. He could have a girlfriend, or he could just be really shy and just doesn't have the balls to take it further. So don't feel bad. Don't take it personally like, "Oh, well, he doesn't like me. I'm not pretty enough." Don't take it personally, because you have no idea what the reason is.
Great, Matt. I think you've answered all my burning questions.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. What else can I... here's another question that I always get asked. Women always want to know where to meet great men, and I always say to them, they're everywhere. It boils down to you. So what's your view on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. You got to put yourself out there. I think meetups can be really good. Just joining groups where singles groups can be great, or things that you're interested in. So you meet a guy with the same interests, the same commonality. That can be good. I mean, you don't have to have all the same interests, of course, but just putting yourself out there in those kind of situations, I think, can be really, really good. And of course, like you said, everywhere. And the typical guy, unfortunately, doesn't really approach women in the bookstore, in the coffee shop, places like that. It's just not very common. I mean, that's what we teach guys to do, but it's still it's more common than I think now than it was maybe 10 years ago. But it's still not the norm. It's still normal to meet people at bars and clubs. So, like I said, just put yourself out there. Ask the guy for directions. If you see a good-looking guy or a guy you're interested in on the street, ask him for directions. Maybe he'll take it further, maybe not. You never know. So, yeah, you're right. Everywhere.
So the men you teach, and you teach them to talk to girls in bookstores and everything, does that work for them?
Yes, yeah, it works really, really well. Because unlike a bar or club, women don't have any guard up. Some women have a guard up at night because a lot of guys have approached them and they're all really lame, using some pickup line or something. So some women definitely have guards up. Women are usually with friends or with a big group. So during the day, a lot of times the woman is by herself. It's just easier to talk one-on-one. There's less to worry about. There's less to think about. You don't have to worry about the friends. You don't have to worry about other guys. So it definitely works. Here's another thing I see all the time where I can tell it's girls that are going out to meet guys, but then they put themselves in a situation where guys can't approach them very easily. Like they'll sit down at a table with, maybe it's 3 girls, and they'll sit down at a table with 3 chairs. So if a guy wants to approach, he just has to stand there hovering over the girls, and most guys aren't going to do it. Or the girls will go out with guys in their group, and guys aren't going to want to talk to girls if there's guys in the group, usually. It's too intimidating for most guys.
Make it easier for them, because you know what I used to do? If I was going for a drink and it was like 6 lads at a bar, I would just be like, excuse me, and go in the middle of them and just go order my drink, and they just start chatting with you.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah.
But it separates you from the group a little bit. Not in an aggressive way, but if you do it in a subtle way, it kind of puts you out there.
Right, and you can like, if you are in a group, you can, like you said, you can separate from your group for a little bit and go to the bar by yourself and grab a drink. And that's going to make you very approachable because you're by yourself. It's much less intimidating than if you're with a big group. Or just go out with one other friend. It's so much easier to, at least in a guy's mind, it's so much easier to approach 2 girls than it is 4 girls. So put yourself in those situations where it just seems, where a guy will be more likely to approach.
Great. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
What else do I want to add for the ladies? I think how you dress is really important too. You don't want to slut it up too much. I see that sometimes where a girl is literally wearing like a bra and like a skirt and high heels, and that's her outfit.
And where does your head,
wow, she's trying really. What's that?
Where does your head go when you see if it's very sexual dressed?
If it's over the top sexual, I think like, wow, she's trying really hard. Like she really wants a guy or she really wants attention. But at the same time, if a girl's just wearing, just kind of something that's just not, there's no sex appeal at all, then that's not great either, right? So kind of go in between. You want to look really, like that quote from Crazy Stupid Love, be the perfect combination of cute and sexy. You don't want to be over the top sexy where it's like slutty, unless, of course, you're at a party that's like, it's a themed party, then go for it. But in a regular situation, you want some sex appeal. You want to be sexy, but not over the top. But at the same time, you don't want to just wear flats and jeans and like a hoodie. That's not going to be sexy at all. So kind of just in between that, I think works really well. Guys, I mean, we notice skin. We see some sexy legs, we can't help but look. So it gets our attention, and we want to talk to that person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Matt. Great questions, great answers, and thank you for our time. And thank you everybody for watching.